All right, this is episode 81 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dion Morales, and today I'm joined by William. 7 ships is hurting my brain. Hagwood.
Tractor my own ship to do a barrel roll, then it barrel rolls itself. Oh, too confusing.
And Marcel Broski
Must have a
Manzano.
laptop in my pocket, as somebody said. Call me a robot.
Correct. You are a robot. Alrighty, so today we're going to be talking about the Crossroads Classic, which happened last weekend. That's why I'm rocking the Crossroads Hangar 19 shirt today. We're going to be talking about List Fortress. If you haven't heard about what that is, we'll talk about that in a little bit. And one of our local players, Scott Karth, created a website called Karchwalker Proxies, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about that. But before we go too far, let's talk about some upcoming live streams. Every Wednesday we do League Night. Okay, we're currently we're branding this as Season 1. Okay, because we're starting second edition all over again. So Season 1, you'll see our games posted up on YouTube if you don't catch them live. But we'll be doing that tomorrow in real time. Tomorrow we start around 5 p.m. and we go. We at least cast about 3 or 4 games. Marcel, that's about what it is.
Yeah, about 3 games.
Yeah. So join us. Super casual, and you can hear everybody asking me questions about rules. It's pretty great. Dion, can I do this thing? No, stop trying to cheat. It's good, guys. Good guys. Alrighty. And then next upcoming big event is the Minot Open. So it's going to be November 3rd and 4th. We're going to be streaming there from the 2 locations that the Minot Open will be. We'll figure all that out, logistics and all that. But super excited for that. Should be fun. And the one thing I did want to address, an other upcoming event, we don't know when it's going to be yet, is the patrons. You guys got your goal, right? We hit the goal. We're going to be going overseas somewhere next week. Okay. Next week, I'm going to be posting out a Google form where you can give your suggestions as to where I can go. And really, what I'm looking for is a couple things. I know there's a lot of people who have dates for events and when things are going to be happening. Those are the things I need. I need to know when dates are, where is it, what airport to go into, like what are some other pieces of information that could be helpful in making my decision, and we'll make a decision from this information because I don't know anything. So yeah, we'll figure that out and then we'll make a decision from that. Now we gotta do shout outs. We gotta do shout outs to our patrons because they're the best. They're the best. This week we picked up a slew of patrons. You guys are amazing. You guys are the biggest reason why we do this. So let's get this name list said. Alrighty, here we go. Thank you to Matthew. Let me move this over here so I'm actually looking more towards the camera. Thank you to Matthew Pettit, Pandemic, Evan Burles, Aaron DiPiano, Bjorn Nilsson, Jason V, 23, Rob Beals, Taylor Seitz, David Reese, Matthew Schuler, Julian Gillig, just Sam. He doesn't have a last name, just Sam. Alan Gopin, Kevin Reiber, Jeremy Button, Preston Bitzer, John Grimes, Corey McNulty, and Karsten Demberger. Them people are amazing. So thank you guys so much. Alrighty. And actually somebody in the chat is literally talking about, or this way, what I was about to hit, and that is that we have some patron exclusive things coming up. The first one is a little bit more on the silly side. So Will and Marcel, what if I told you that you could ask me anything you want about X-Wing or Star Wars while I was in a let's call it a fugue state?
I would come up with some pretty funny questions.
Marcel?
I would say that's me every podcast night.
Yeah, so posted on Patreon is a Google form there where you can put out a question. I'm going to be getting wisdom teeth surgery. I'm going full under, and there's plenty of hilarious videos of people coming out of that surgery and them just like talking nonsense. So my wife has volunteered to both ask your questions and record my responses. So we're going to put all that together, and I'm super excited to see what happens of that. It's not going to be live streamed because who knows what I'll be saying, so we have to edit it just in case. And then the thing that so many people have been emailing me about for a long time, we're getting it done. We're finally on the road. There was just a couple of hiccups. Templates, Gold Squadron podcast templates. I know you guys love that Y-Wing design we made for the Gold Squadron Classic. And yes, you're going to be able to get your hands on a, not quite the same, but a similar design. The Y-Wing is still there. In its full, whoops. I guess the picture didn't make it in, but you're going to have the Y-Wing design. You can go to goldsquadronpodcast.com, click on the shop. You can see the line art of what it looks like there. It's going to be black acrylic with yellow paint. It's going to pop really, really nicely. If you've seen our previous sets, we actually used that color scheme, and I really, really liked it. So take a look there if you want to get them. Patrons, there is a discount code on their posts in Patreon, so make sure you take a look there under our member posts, and you will be able to see that coupon. So get your Gold Squadron podcast templates. This is we're currently in the pre-order stage, and hopefully I should have them in about 2 weeks, and then we'll get them sent out. There is a limited number of them, so make sure you get yours now. Get yours now. And Will had a fantastic idea with these templates. He says, Dion, you should do a thing, and I was like, it's a good idea. So there may or may not, if you're a fan of our streams, you've been watching for a while, there have been giveaways we've been doing on our streams, and you may or may not be able to, like, one per major event. We're gonna have a variant on our templates that's gonna be available. More to come there. That's all I'm gonna talk about. That's it. Let's get to our first topic here. Let's talk about the Crossroads Classic, guys. So, Marcel, I'll let you start, man. What did we fly? What is the what is the Crossroads Classic? Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, so actually, it's in Indiana, in Indianapolis. It's run by the Hangar 19 guys, and there you go. We're in the Hangar 19 guys. And it's the third year. They've gotten bigger every year, and it's a large event, but it's a large community run event. I'm not sure if it's for charity, or I don't know the background behind it.
It's just a really cool event that they put on.
Mm-hmm. And we had 90 something people in
Yep.
it. So it was pretty large event. A lot of big names, a lot of names that you would recognize showed up. And it's probably the last event of that size here in the Midwest until 2019.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so super excited. All three of us were there, Marcel, Will, and myself, as along with some other Gold Squadron members, and we had a good time. We didn't win, but we had a good time.
Yeah.
We had a good time and had a lot of experiences, and I think all three of us being able to be at this tournament and experience this large-scale event with a lot of high-level players, we were able to really, I think, get some good information. I want to start just kind of digging through that, starting to digest what we experienced. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the unlikely. Let's go ahead and start by talking about what we flew. Marcel, what'd you fly?
Sure. I took Brobots A and B. A is the one that range 0 to 3. No, range 1 to 3. Not on bumping ships. Range 1 to 3. You can pass off one calculate token.
To a friendly ship, right?
To a friendly ship at a range 1 to 3. And then I also took a tugboat with the IGD title, which lets it borrow that ability as well. So now you had basically a mind link across the table with that crew card. The tugboat gets a second calculate when he calculates, so you get a total of 6 calculates, and you get to pass a couple of them around, so you can end up with the one that's going to be taking the most shots, have 4 of them on it. And then I had the other IG boat was the double tap IGB. You miss a shot, you take a secondary shot with a cannon. And both IGs had collision detector. One of them with a tractor beam, one of them with an ion for control. And the tugboat also had contraband cybernetics, because turns out that doing a sloop or doing a reverse and still being able to tractor is pretty good. And yeah, I mean, that I think I mentioned that last week, that's what I was going to fly, that Luke was going to paint me some amazing ships, and he did. I went 3-3 with it, and I had the best looking 3-3 in the city by far. And actually, I coming into it, I said that the list was pretty horrible, and I had gone 1-3 going into it. After flying and going 3-3 there, and knowing that one of my losses, for example, was against Dominic, who ended up winning the tournament.
Oh, spoilers!
Yeah, well, and
actually, he
Dion
did. No, he did. Actually,
it.
he didn't. He didn't. He's not the one who won. He won.
No. Who won?
Alex.
Yeah,
Alex won.
Alex Middle.
Yeah.
Okay, then one of my losses was against Alex Middle. Well, wait, which one is? Wait, Boba Fett didn't win?
No.
No,
Sleeping over here, man. He's sleeping, snoozing.
Oh wow. Okay, so I lost against the runner-up. One of my losses was against the runner-up.
I mean, it's still not bad.
Yeah, and even that match, I had the match won, and I made a tactical mistake of I had 2 IGs left against 1 Boba, and all I had to do was not die, and I ended up jousting him when they called time instead of running away. So
Marcel.
I know I cannot not be aggressive. I have to be aggressive. And it turns out that Boba Fett with 2 ships at range 1 can put out 2 damage on a ship. Oh well, bad math, bad choices actually. So that was a bad choice. And then the other 2 losses that I had, actually the other 1 loss, because 1 loss I just got beat up, good old fashioned way. But one of the other losses was just really unfortunate variances. I'm talking about I had Whisper tractored and at 1 agility, and took a total of 4 shots with rerolls, and 4 shots because you miss one, you take another one, and did a total of 0 damage, and that happened twice in the same match.
All right, well we'll roll back. We'll roll back to the what happened. I just want to cover first what we flew, and then we'll get to those because I got
robots plus quad.
Okay, Will, what'd you fly, buddy?
I brought the Drea Swarm out for another tournament. Drea Renthral with the dorsal turret in her Y-wing. I got 3 quad jumpers, 2 pirates, Z95 pirates, and L337 in the escape craft with Tobias Beckett.
Fantastic. Oh, Marcel, I forgot to ask you, did you have a name for your list? Did you give it a name?
No.
Robots. Will, what's the name of your list?
It's Tobias Tugjob.
It's fantastic. It's such a good name. It's such a so great. That's fantastic. Alrighty. And I was flying a version of a Sloan Swarm.
Actually, wait. I'll call it now. If anybody else, actually, I know at least one person else is gonna fly it. So I called myself Broski here. So they're the Broskis. Robots plus squad.
Okay.
Quad jumper.
Cool. I like it. I was I was flying a version of a Sloan Swarm, so I had Lieutenant Sai with Admiral Sloan on it, with a basically one of every Imperial ship. Not really one of every one, but I had a Striker, the PS1 Striker, Initiative 1 Striker, Initiative 1 Interceptor, the Initiative 1 Reaper, and then a TIE Bomber with barrage rockets. Comes out to 200 points, and I called that the Imperial Symphony. Just lots of different sections, and being an orchestra teacher, a little little nerdy, so I like it. So that's what we flew. And Marcel, you started talking about you hit the next point already. What were just some of the major games? How did you do? What was your overall record? We'll go ahead and continue.
Went 3-3, like I said before. Every match, actually, 2 out of the 3 matches that I won were extremely close. 1 match was not, and 2 out of the 3 games that I lost were extremely close. 1 match was not. So in total, out of the 6 matches that I played, 4 of them were anybody's game. 1 choice here, 1 choice there, 1 dice variance here, 1 dice variance there. The one that stands out to me the most, I forgot against the person's name, but I flew against. So I had 2 initiative 4 IGs and an initiative 1 tugboat, and I flew against a 3 proton torpedo rebel list with Luke, Thane, and Wedge. So you have 3 pilot skill 5 and 6 ships coming in with, and they had the astromech that gives you the double target locks.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they can have their pick of the litter at the start of the combat. And I fed them and I jousted them. I when I saw that across the table, I'm like, this is not gonna go well. And it was the 3rd match. It was right before lunch, and I'm like, it's not gonna go well. I just want to get some food. So I actually lined up to joust them with 1, the IGs, and then flank them with the tugboat and the other IG. And he unloaded. I got the IG at range 1 of all of them, and then the tugboat and other IG at range 3. And he double target locked 1 IG that was close by, and then the tugboat with the other one. And he actually ended up going for the IG, which was the dream case, because the IG lived with only 2 hull left.
Okay.
But then after that, really the tugboat just started doing some work, started moving stuff around. He, in 1 turn, we got Thane down to 3 hull. No, actually, Luke down to 3 hull. And then in 1 turn, tractor beamed him into a rock.
Oh.
And then he flew out of the rock. So that was 1 damage. He flew out of the rock to take another damage and landed on a 3rd rock and did 3 damage on Luke. And the turn after put Thane on double rocks again. And then after that, it was 3 ships against Wedge, and Wedge can't live against 3 ships. So that one was one that target priority, right?
Yeah.
You think those IGs got a lot of hull, you got to chew through them. No, you take the tugboat. And ask William when he talks about his, what does he want to survive as long as possible. Those tugboats will do some work, especially if you leave them around end game. They'll put in some work. So that was probably the most interesting match. And then the other match that was pretty interesting again was against Dominic, and that one he psyched me out twice.
Yeah.
He beat me at the mind games. I beat him at flying maybe 90% of the match, and he beat me the last 2 rounds with a mind game. I was gonna tractor beam his Boba Fett forward because I got him in the bullseye, and he talked me into barrel roll him the other way instead of tractor beaming him forward. And then his maneuver was a hard one towards me, which basically I just gave him the arc instead of letting him end up in a rock. And then the last turn, when I decided to throw both ships at his range 1 and try to do 1 damage to get him at half hull instead of just worrying about staying alive. So anyway, those were probably the 2 best matches.
It happens. Well, Will,
Yeah,
let's go ahead and transition to you, man. Let's talk about what were some major moments. And we did have actually a listener have a question here. They said, I'd like to know why Will used Tobias Beckett instead of tactical officer with L337.
That's an excellent question. Well, the main thing is that L337's ability, and once she loses her shield, she actually gets 2 bank and 3 bank blues to clear the stress from the red coordinate a little bit easier. Though she does have to get hurt first for that to trigger. But I think tactical officer is more for Lando, who wants to not be stressed so he can use his pilot ability of rerolling blanks. The reason I like Tobias Beckett is it's a mind game on people if they try to start overthinking it. Because I have a pretty basic strategy with it, and it's if you line up any ship, Dion, I'm sure you can relate to this. When you deploy ships, right, you deploy them into a lane,
Yeah.
right? So you can
Absolutely.
travel through the lane in towards the engagement zone.
Mhm.
But if I put a rock in your lane, so you can't go straight through it. You have to swerve left or right or whatever. That has already messed up your initial deployment strategy. The other reason I like it is because I have 7 ships. If you clog up every lane, I can make a big jousting area to fit all 7 of my ships into. And the last reason is when I put when they see 3, everybody does this, and it's what you should do. When they see 3 quad jumpers across the board, they start just cornering rocks at the 2 and 2. Spread them out. And so it lets me, if you corner 2 rocks, I could just take that rock and then put it right in front of you, right where I assume you're going to try to come at me, and then I could try to tractor beam you on it if I can time it right.
Beautiful.
So it's got a little bit of utility. It's weird to pay for that ability, but it actually comes in handy every single match. The one time I didn't use it to like a good effect, I was wrong. I should have used it, and I didn't take advantage of it. So, anyways, how I did, I ended up I squeezed through a top 8 game that I probably shouldn't have won, and ended up playing Dominic in the top 4. And
That top 8 game was on stream, right?
Yeah, that's the stream game I'm talking about. That's one of my major moments. But
watch that. It's not quite up yet. It's actually literally while we're recording. It's exporting right now. So those should be up in a couple days. Take a look at that. It's a great roller coaster.
Well,
I was on the table right next to him practicing with Brandon, a couple Imperial things, and we heard the
yeah,
sound. It was a thunderstorm.
Yeah, so that was probably the biggest moment. Like it's literally the reason why you play X-Wing is like, so time is called. It's the top 8 game, right? We're on stream. He just killed my Drea, and I have a 2-hull Echo across from me, and a bomber at 1 health, and it's been forwarding like while and stressed for like 2 rounds. So it is gone. It's out of there. It's going to forward until time. So I only have a full health quad jumper left on the board when he kills Drea. And we start looking at our dials, and boom, time's called. And I'm like, oh man, I have to figure out a way to get 2 damage onto this Echo. He cloaked for some reason, which I don't agree with, but I'm not a Phantom player myself, so maybe it's what he chose. But so I had to call the decloak, get the tractor beam to get on him so that he would hit the rock twice, land on it, and move past it. And I would have to get him to either roll at least 1 hit, because he's going to have an evade token after he decloaks. So you got to hit the rock at least once, and then I had to somehow shoot him for 2 dice, and he has to blank out, so his evade token doesn't save him, right?
Right.
But that doesn't happen. He just he hits the rock, he rolls a hit, comes off of it, and rolls a crit and just dies. And I win 28-19 left on the board. And it was the most outrageous thing because it shouldn't have worked. I was describing it, and someone was like, "Oh, that's just pure luck that he rolled the dice." And I was like, it's not really luck because I called his decloak.
Right.
Echo's got 6 different ways to decloak, and I called which one he was going to do, and was able to put him onto a rock. And that was just the anticipation of like, all right, let's see those 2 dice. The game is won or lost now on you rolling 2 dice.
Yeah, it was.
And
Go ahead, Marcel.
Yeah, no, and I never buy that whole it was luck. I mean, like I said, I there was a couple games that I said went in my favor and a couple that went in the opponent's favor that I said, hey, sometimes the dice go one way or the other, but you have to put yourself in that position where the dice, are where you have a chance to win, and that's what you did. If you would have chose something different, you ain't gonna win if no red dice are being rolled. So
Right.
you had to put it. You have to put yourself in that position where dice are being rolled, and if the dice are not being rolled, then you go from a possibility to nothing. So I don't subscribe to that. And I think the Minox actually always talk about that, like never blame the dice. I always blame the dice, but you have to roll the dice in order to be able to blame them. If you can't not roll dice and expect to win.
yeah, no, it was just like, because once I got the tractor beam, I was done. Like that's the only things I have. It was nothing. Don't worry about it. Anyways, yeah, that was definitely like the highlight. Because after that, I was into the top 4 game. I was like, I shouldn't even be here. Like, I got here on some random stuff. So I just had a lot of fun playing. I got to play against a couple of my rivals. Andrew Schmidt. I played him in the first round, and got another victory on him. It was in a very close game. I was able to just half his boba and keep my points on the board. And then I played Nathan ID as well, and that was kind of a weird game because we're both 5-5, right? It was the last game of the day.
Right.
We're both going to day 2, so we just kind of like, I wouldn't say like didn't care, but
You don't want to show your hand, right?
yeah, well, yeah, I purposely was like, I was like, what happens if I ignore your red line? And it turns out he shoots 4 proton torpedoes at me.
There you go.
That's what happens if you ignore him. But no, it was like, not that we didn't care. At that point, we're just playing for like pure fun. You know what I mean? Because we don't really need to play that game.
Right. Yeah, being 5-0, you guys are guaranteed into the cut the next day.
Yeah, so that was nice. So just like finishing the day was just a nice kind of more casual, hilarious game. And actually, that was probably the best moment, which is funny because it happened to me. But the best moment of the first day was I have a quad jumper with fuel leak and major hull breach. His bomber puts in, that's the only cards on my quad jumper, by the way. And his bomber puts in 1 hit at like range 3. So the hit is flipped up to a crit. It's a direct, which means it triggers 2 other additional cards because of the fuel leak and the direct. The next 2 cards were also direct and direct, which meant that then I had 2 other cards still to get to me. And it was just like, I was like, what? How did one hit ended up causing 5 damage, which is baffling. I was laughing hysterically at it because that shouldn't happen, right?
I mean, it's one of those weird crit chains, right? It's crazy, but at least you got some of those direct hits out your deck. It's fine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What about you?
So, oh man, math can sometimes make you sad, people at home. So I went 3-3 as well. I was honestly really happy with the way I played in every game that I played in, except for one I wasn't super happy with, and that one that I feel like I deserved to lose that one. I made some boneheaded decisions. But in 2 of them, oh my god. Okay, so I went through and I did the math. But essentially what happened, in 2 games, something very similar happened where I'm running a Sloan Swarm. And for those of you who are not familiar, the Sloan card says that if you are at range 1 to 3, Sloan. If Sloan is range 1 to 3 to a friendly ship, and the enemy that friendly ship is shooting is stressed, you get a reroll. So have that in mind as we go in this. Anyway, game 1 that I lost, my opponent had their ship and hung it out at range 3 of 2 of my ships, one being my bomber with barrage rockets, so range 3 doesn't actually matter in that case, and range 2 of the other ones. And I had focus on all my guys. His ship has modifiers, and I did all the math, and the math says that most of the time, that ship takes 7 damage. It's like 6.89 trailing number. You could even call it 6. This ship is a Hawk, okay? Which what do they have? 5 health.
5 health. Yep.
5 health. So should be dead. On average, dead. Has 2 focus tokens. What if I told you that this ship not only was alive at the end of this volley, but also didn't have to spend a single focus token to do it? Feels bad. Feels real bad. Thank you, follower. Oh man, during that game, I'm trying to remember who was that against. Joe? I think Joe Canopa. I think is who that game was against. And he goes, man, I'm sorry, dude. And I'm like, there's nothing I could do. And on the board, like he had his Hawk. It was isolated, and his 2 other ships. He was running Jester's list. Fen Rao and Tarak were just kind of all alone by themselves. Like they hadn't come into the fight yet. So this is one ship versus my 5. Nothing. Oh, I could feel it again. Yeah. So that was a loss. I didn't take a ship off the board. And then what happened the following turn is that he was able to now Palob's coming in, stealing my tokens now. All the craziness happened. So that was that. And then I ended up losing my second game eventually somewhere in there. And then the third game I lost, something very similar happened where my opponent took a Star Viper. And so these also have 5 health, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Normally.
Almost the exact same situation, but even better for myself because he actually ends up boosting in with the and using his linked action to stress himself and get a focus token, so he would have a modifier. Taking that risk so now I have focus and rerolls. Average damage on this Star Viper is also around 7 because now he has a 3rd agility, and also took no damage. Also didn't have to spend that focus token. So it was just 2 big moments of just crazy variance. And if you use the X-Wing calculator, that's like Gate of Storms X-Wing calculator, it was like 0.0001% of the time what happened to me happened twice.
I think the stream should start spamming salt. Shakers.
It's just if you have your salt shakers, feel free to take them out. It's fine. Oh my goodness. Anyway, but they were good games. I had a good time, even with this crazy variance. That after it happened once, I was like, this is fine. This won't happen again, and then it happens again. Oh.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're in the other shoes, you know what I mean? When you are the opponent, right, and you end up just miracle surviving, it's like a godsend, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, and they were able to take advantage of it. That's like the flip side of this, right? Like, I came in with my approach. I was like, all right, here I'm taking a ship now, and they went. The die said no, and my opponents went, all right, time to take advantage of this, and they did. And they whooped on me. So Good on them, guys. Had a great time. Crossroads Classic, fantastic event. And you know what it did? It lined me up to do what I do best. And that's commentate about X-Wing. All right, so let's talk
Don't sell yourself short.
Sad. Alrighty. Let's talk about what we saw. So, obviously right now we have 3 factions. This is going to get kind of crazy once we get up to 7. But we're at 3 right now. Let's each pick a faction. So, let's see. Let's see. Marcel and Will both flew Scum. I flew Imperial. So here, I'm gonna do the Imperial one. One of you has to take Rebel.
I'll take Rebel.
Okay, go for it.
I'll go last.
Okay, Will, talk about Scum. What do we see Scum-wise out there?
Well, actually, I want to give a shout out to. Actually, I don't know who created it, but Zach shared it onto Reddit. Full breakdown of the top 16 kind of matchups.
Yeah, it was the guy who put it together. What's his name? The guy that played this year that usually puts it together. I'm horrible with names. Zach Bart. Zach Bart. Yeah.
Yeah, he put together a very useful data spreadsheet about the top 16 and kind of a breakdown of the different lists and stuff. But the main thing in Scum is definitely Boba Fett. I faced 3 of them right off the bat. 3 different lists with Boba Fett, and he was running rampant. I ended up getting into the final game with a fairly light Boba Fett, actually. And I think the main takeaway from Scum is Han Gunner.
Oh my God,
Han Gunner.
So good.
It was every Boba Fett, I believe, had Han Gunner, because you should. And actually, Cavill brought, that was Alex Smittle, brought Cavill with proton torpedoes and Han Gunner, an R2, or excuse me, an R4 droid that makes his hard twos blue, so he can clear that Han Gunner stress
real easy.
And I think that is pretty good action efficiency. And like we were comparing it to a force point, like the force point crews are like minimum 10 points, and somehow you can get a focus token for 4 is mind blowing.
Yeah, like, and you can use that focus on all the results, not just one. Oh, flip them all.
Yeah, no, they need to reevaluate the conditions of it stresses you and you only get it when you engage. All those are totally fine. Like for just a single focus in a 2.0 world is amazing. Being able to double modify shots, or Boba Fett uses it for defense a lot of the time as well. That is phenomenal. I think the other similar archetype was like a double ace list. Normally Boba Fett and Fenn Rau, plus either like Lando, or you have like Fenn Rau, Old T, and Paylob. And even the Dominic, the finalist, brought Forlom, Boba Fett, and Paylob. So really shows the strength. I mean, all of those ships can double modify their attacks and their defense. Well, maybe not their defense, but that's, I think, where the Scum is right now, that you need to like heavy hitters who can double modify, whether it's through Coordinate or Han Gunner, and they've just been tearing it up. Probably the only thing that can really compete against the Imperials right now, except for maybe a Swarm.
Well, one coincidence is I was getting some messages while streaming that a list very similar to Dominic's actually had just won the Spanish Nationals.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so
he had advanced sensors on Forlom instead of elusiveness and 000, but almost identical list.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just super cool to see people on the same wavelength both be successful at major events. That's super cool. And I do want to take a second, side tangent. Dominic Brown, Okay. If you see this player in person, you look at him and go like, oh, he's probably, he's definitely like a teenager. Maybe he's in high school, maybe like 17, 18. This kid's 14 years old and just whooping on people. Super tall. All right, very mature, very nice kid, and I want to just give him a shout out here because he was playing super well, playing really well, staying humble, and having a good time. And I absolutely love seeing that. And then you played against them.
Yeah, I'll add. We both did. Me and Will did. And like I said, that was a match that I lost. And for such a young age, like I said, he psyched me out mentally. He made me question my original move of boosting him forward, and that would have basically won me the match. Or later on, running away instead of jousting him. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good way to play. And on top of that, the whole match through, always smiles, always upbeat. So even though I lost that match, and I lost that match to some mistakes, it was I called it out when I was talking to my piece. It was one of the two most enjoyable matches I had, because, and I think a lot of it has to do with player, right? When you're playing somebody that there's people that you play against that make it fun, and then there's people that are really intense and sometimes make it more intense than fun. So yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, I will say. So my only losses were against Nathan Idy and Dominic Brown, two under 18 players, and man, did it make me feel old.
It's all right, man. It's all right.
All right.
They're the young guns. We'll put them in their place.
The next generation, though. I think Nathan's been playing longer than me, but they're the next generation of up and comers. Like, Dominic's only gonna get better, so look out for him.
Yeah, he had a great performance at Adepticon before. Yeah, it was great.
Maybe Gen Con?
Oh, sorry, Gen Con. That's what I meant.
Yeah, Gen Con. Yeah, he did well, and
top 8, I believe.
Joe Desmond, and there's a lot of young people out there that are playing at high level.
Yeah, it's just super awesome to see. Let's talk about Imperials a little bit. So from what I saw, I mean, red line everywhere. Red line is the unarguably just like a super undercosted piece that hits really hard, is able to double modified attacks. If you're not familiar with red line, he says after you perform an action, you may acquire a lock. So you can, you can focus and lock and shoot your torpedo and have fully modified attack. You can boost then lock. You can, any combination you want.
You can
do
boost,
that.
Then double lock.
Correct.
You can boost and lock two people at the same time.
Yes. Or you can lock the same person twice using his ability. So, go ahead.
Oh, he's also the only Punisher who can barrel roll and lock as well, because the barrel roll is red.
Yeah.
And acquire a lock is not an action.
Yeah, it's very, very good. So we saw lots of red line. Expect to continue to see red line. Also expect to see his costs go up for sure.
Actually, Punishers can't barrel roll.
Yeah, they can. They got a red barrel.
They do? Punishers?
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, they gave them barrel and boost.
I've been playing red line wrong.
Totally fine.
Read the card. Read the card.
No.
Stop assuming things. All right. So we saw, the other thing is we saw a ton of TIE bombers. A bajillion. TIE bombers everywhere. You saw Cody Martell flying them to good effect. You saw Nate Moore, one of our Gold Squadron guys. There was a ton of TIE bombers. They're very point efficient with barrage rockets. That 34 points packs a punch, and they do have some survivability with the 2 agility. So bombers, very, very good. And another thing that I really noticed, especially running the stream, is that Whisper, basically the top Phantoms, Whisper mostly, but you also saw a little bit of Echo. They're seeing a lot of play, which I know, if I think back to what I was thinking when I was first assessing ships, I didn't think that the Phantom would be as popular as soon because, a lot of players would say, oh, it doesn't have 4 attack dice anymore. I don't want to play it. But if you look at how they adjusted the points, even though they did take it down to 3, Whisper's still really, really good. Just the ability to decloak and just having the mobility on the board is very good. It's at a high initiative at initiative 5. You do have a lot of options there, and I was just surprised. You're seeing a lot of people try to fly it, but warning to those of you who try, not easy, and they will pop because if you choose to be decloaked, you don't get to cloak again until the very end of the engagement. So everybody has shot. So if you're an arc of things, you're probably going to take damage. And if you end up having to spend your evade token, no cloak for you. So that's important to think about.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of phantoms because of their crew slot. They
cloak
can
and choke Vader.
Yeah, they can hold
Energetic.
probably the 2 best crew, or what we've seen become the best 2 crew, which is Darth Vader and Sloane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so if you're not familiar with those pieces, we talked about Sloane earlier because I was flying it. Vader crew, you get 1 force point, and I believe is at the beginning or when you engage. Is that when it is? Is that the timing?
At the start of engagement.
At the start of engagement, you can spend that force point to choose a ship at range 1 to 2 of the ship that Darth Vader crew is on, and they have a choice: either lose a green token or take a damage. If you don't have any green tokens, you're taking a damage. It's very good.
And that usually is on a juke ship, which means you're taking a damage.
Exactly. So if you lose, you're gonna take a damage, and if you didn't have tokens to begin with, you're probably gonna take at least 2, for sure. That's happening.
Yeah, it's hard to just man up and just take that damage and hold your focus token for the juke, because if you roll multiple eyeballs on that juke defense, you should have just kept your focus.
It feels
right?
bad. Feels real bad. And then the opposite, right? When you're like, I'll take the damage, and then you don't roll any focus, you're like, dang it.
No, well, they juke you. They make you roll a focus. But
Right. I mean, like if it comes up double blanks,
Yeah, if you blank out.
double
it
blanks-
feels
double blanks
useless.
feels bad for sure.
Now let's talk about what did we feel that we learned? We've played it a lot of
You-
times.
about
You're
Rebels.
skipping out Rebels altogether.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm
Are you
sorry.
skipping out Rebels or are you skipping
We
out
don't- we
me?
don't-
No, I skipped.
A little bit of both.
Sorry, Marcel.
Oh my god. It's because I'm an Ewok, right?
That's right. Yep. That's
You
okay.
think you're you're R2D2. You're just a short
I'm actually a
guy.
little shorter than you. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're a bully. Like you zap people.
Correct. All right, let's cover Rebels. I'm sorry, we
All right.
mentioned it earlier. Anyway, go ahead. My bad.
All right, let me collect myself after having my feelings hurt. So I'm gonna add actually a couple things that I thought we missed with the scum and the imps. That's why I wanted to go last because I want to talk. So the scum, we totally did not say quad jumpers.
No, we're not talking about them, dude.
We are. Hey, we're here to educate, and we're here to talk what's true. We're not trying to keep anything in our back pocket. If we beat people because we fly better than them, not because we kept some extra, super secret tech in our pocket.
I don't think it's a secret, but yeah, keep going.
Quad jumpers are good. And
Oh, yeah.
they are ridiculously good. And with the Imperials, we also missed out on defenders. Just the defenders, Rexlar and Rexlar especially, so good. Such a good, powerful ship. You can't put any damage on it unless you block it. And if it's got advanced sensors, good luck. So anyway, with the Rebels, I've been thinking, and I was telling Dion and Willem, like one of the things that I like doing is I like building lists and I like figuring out what makes lists works, right?
Mhm.
Even though sometimes I don't, I come up with some crappy stuff, or sometimes it doesn't work, or I don't fly it well. I've been for the past 2 days trying to think like, what can I build with the Rebels and make it work? And why are they not performing when they are probably when they have the best base. You know, they have a lot of hull, they have okay agility, they have good defense dice, they have good everything. I mean, just functionally good ships, especially the X-wings, and even the Z95s were almost the same points, are one initiative higher than the Scum. And I came to one conclusion.
What's the
And,
conclusion?
and it's a conclusion that you can actually see on the Hawks, right? So the rebels, all of the rebel abilities are about boosting and supporting your own ships, making your own ships better. Izad or Guerrero, when the ship is hurt, it can roll more dice. All of the Hawks, you know, pass a token, give a token, make another ship shoot at an extra die, or bring another ship to pilot skill 7. Everything is a positive. Everything is making one of your own ships better. The difference is that the Imperials and the Scum are all, you know, what did the crate say? They're all stealing agency. They're all making you make bad choices. 000, make a bad choice. The tractor beams during action, not during. I know you can put a tractor beam gun on someone, but then at that point, you're giving up damage in order to put in the tractor beam. Tractor beam, Sloan, give people stress. Vader, make people take a damage or lose a token. Just all of the abilities from all of the abilities that are making a difference in the Scum and in the Imperials are abilities that affect the opponent in a negative way versus boosting your own abilities up. Another one is Paylob stealing tokens, or Forlam pushing stress. So that to me, that's the difference. The difference is rebels boost their own ships, while Imperials and Scum are creating a negative effect on the opponent. Now the Scum have an extra bonus because they also have a couple boosting abilities as well. So does so do TIE swarms and stuff like that. But you don't see those being played as often. Like your list, William. You've got Drea on there. She's a booster, right?
I got buffs. I got
you've got a buff. But
I got buffs and debuffs.
But let's be honest. What makes your list work is more than the buffs. It's those tractor beams. Without those tractor beams, those buffs ain't gonna get you very far, because you can put look at your match against Blair Bunky. Blair had supporting things, and he had crack shots, and he had pilot skill on you or initiative on you. He had a lot of things on you, but those tractor beams and those negative effects outweigh the positive effects.
So good.
So you're
boom, dropping the mic.
So you're saying that rebels need some sort of droid that could like potentially debuff the enemy effectively.
Are you starting the bring back R3A2 campaign?
I mean, it wouldn't hurt.
No, God, I don't want to see that thing again.
If you think about how good
player, Sloan's fair, but R3A2 is not okay.
No.
But I mean, fight me on it. Argue with me that's not what's making the difference.
No, I fully agree. That's the only way I was getting rebels to work previously, was I was using debuffs instead of buffs. And I think you're onto something there. There's not very many rebel ships that I can think of that are pure debuffs. Thane.
The only one that I can think of that has a negative effect on an opponent that is of any meaningfulness is Arvel with intimidation on it.
I'm going to argue Thane is a pretty good debuff, but it's kind of like shooting though. It's kind of like doing damage,
right?
But not the same.
It's not really a debuff. It's pushing a crit.
So, and the other thing, all the debuffs that you were talking about, Marcel, they are effects that happen
outside of combat.
Right. They don't rely on dice. Like, it's going to happen. This thing triggers. This ability happens, and even Thane, I do believe that Thane is a really good piece. Contrary to what some people believe, I think he's really good, but he still requires you to have hit.
rolled dice
yeah,
and gotten a
you could do-
certain result.
You can do,
Yeah.
you can do eyeballs.
You can do eyeballs. Oh, there's
But
still
like I said, you have to roll and you have to get them.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's true.
So it's more than just a range or arc. It's you still have to have that trigger. So it's
No.
that's a great point, Marcel. I had not even thought of that, and I think that's exactly the reason why rebels are at the bottom of the totem pole. Right? That's I know that we only have 3 factions. Somebody has to be on the bottom, and right now, it's rebels.
Yep. And I think I'm going to throw it out there because this is what I'm going to test, but I want other people to test it first. And if somebody wins with it, I can take full credit for it. To your point with the other thing that I think people are missing out is just how good Juke actually is. They're putting it on the defenders and the phantoms only, really. But Juke is good, period. Because right now with so few tokens, so few modifiers, Juke is pushing damage through. So you get some A-wings with Juke or other things with other things that can take that. I think that's gonna make a difference. But the list that I want somebody out there to go out there and test out is just a bunch of efficiency with Redline, proton torpedoes, proton bombs, the trajectory simulator, Whisper with Juke, Vader, and collision detector. Because when you get tractor beam onto a rock, it actually helps to have collision detector. And then Echo with collision detector, Juke, and my favorite card in the world, intelligence agent renamed into something else, informant or whatever the heck they called it. Because moving at initiative 4 with the cloaking at 6 different positions, when your opponent at initiative 6, you already know his dial before you decloak. It's gold.
Fantastic. So what you're doing is you're taking the standard, what is becoming a standard.
Yeah,
and
that's a 200-point list, by the way. But you don't care if you're at 200 points because you're gonna use informant on the ship on their pilot skill 5 or 6 ship that's gonna have initiative on you, and you're seeing his dial anyway. So you really don't care, and you're gonna be decloaking with both ships any way you want.
Cool. Man, that's good stuff. Anything else to I mean, I guess we talked about each faction. I guess we just kind of naturally went into the next bullet point here. Is there what are some things that we've learned, whether it be about the upcoming metagame? This is now the second major event, right? So we had Gold Squadron Classic, we had the Crossroads Classic.
So I guess you're not counting Coruscant, huh?
Oh, sorry, Coruscant. See, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I'm so sorry.
That's not a major event.
It is a major event. So that's why you always hesitate. I was like, dude, I thought it was 3. All right, so 3 and Coruscant. We're starting to see things evolve. We're starting to see some consistencies there with what people are flying. What are maybe some major differences that we're seeing between what we used to see in first edition and what we're now seeing in second edition? Second edition, the game edition, not the format. God dang it, FFG! I hate that you named.
I have a big one that it has, I think, completely warped this particular meta, and it's the basically non-existence of fat turrets. There's no Rey, Han in either faction struggles to get that efficiency he used to. Used to be the best jouster, arc dodger, and turret.
Everything, all the things.
Yeah, it used to be literally the best ship of all categories. If he had bombs, he would have probably been the best bomber as well. But those are almost non-existent, which is interesting because that certainly warps the meta that we aren't building lists to fight them anymore, right? We're not building lists to fight Miranda or even Nim. As far as like these like half your list turrets, or in Han's case, 60% of your list turrets. Even Dengar is like literally non-existent in the current meta. And I think that has radically changed how we are approaching list building and how we're even fighting our ships on the board, because like we saw this explosion of phantoms, but phantoms would in theory struggle against a boosting Han, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Agreed.
But because they're so inefficient, it allows these true arc dodgers to kind of rise to the top there.
And I think that's probably where we're gonna see some that battle between points, right? Because if nobody's flying these large base, bow tie turret arc ships, the price is gonna start dwindling down until we get to that point where like, oh, they're good again, you know.
So I'm gonna go a little. I think you're right, but to an extent, because I at the Gold Squadron Classic did fly a fat turret. I flew Asajj and Scum Han, and I was putting 5 and 6 dies out consistently with a engine upgrade Han with trick shot, 000, and just stressing people with Asajj and getting a bunch of debris on. And
But
I did pretty well.
Why did you stop flying that though?
Oh, because I usually, I mean, you should know me by now. I never fly
Snowflake. He's a snowflake.
I don't fly the same thing at multiple events. I almost never do. And I mean, people recognize the triple jumps, but in reality, if you look at all the in between tournaments or all the store championships, I always brought something completely different every time, and that's just because I get bored. But with Asajj and Han, I actually did really well. I won my pod. I did pretty well. I got to the top pod, and then ran into 6 bombers that I flew against wrong, not because it was a bad list. I just made bad decisions with it. And then I also flew Dengar, Fen, and a quad jumper, and won all 3 matches with Dengar, Fen, quad jumper with it. So they're still viable. I just think that people are not. They haven't figured it out, and they haven't taken that dive yet because other people have. Because there's other lists that are easier to fly, and they give you more. You can make more mistakes and survive. So they're not at the top tier, but I think that they are still viable if you build them right, if you put the right combinations on there. Like I said, the Fengar plus quad jumper, it was so good. Every match that I won, all 3 games that I played, I only lost half a quad jumper and didn't lose half on either Fen or Dengar. So they are viable. I think we just need the game to kind of evolve, and to Dion's point, maybe the points to it just a tiny bit, but they're not bad ships.
Well, I'm going to argue that Dengar is no longer a turret. He is an arc.
No. I've in all 3 games, right. I never changed his arc. Yeah, true.
No, you shouldn't. But I would say, I mean, the probably the only example, a corner case on Cavill, who might be a fat turret.
the smallest fat turret.
Yeah,
that's not a fat turret. It's like 60 points.
The thick turret.
I mean, for a small base, that's a fat turret. But I think that the only true like fat turret that we have right now is Boba Fett, because he has 2 different arcs, and his rear arc isn't weaker, and in fact, he's got most of them have Marauder title, so he's actually stronger out the rear arc than he is in the front arc, which, like I said, that might make him the only actual fat turret in the game, or in the meta, anyways.
That's a good point. I mean, thinking about the term fat turret as just a large, very mobile ship with multiple arcs.
I think the only one that has 3 arcs is the BCX.
Well, Miranda with Barrage
would have
pretty much has 3.
Well. Yeah, that's true, because you can put it to the sides and then the barrage at the front.
Yeah, bombs out the back.
Everything.
It's kind of a full turret. But yeah, I just don't see. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. I think that's skewing the meta quite heavily, and it will continue for quite a while until they either reduce the prices or people can figure out how to effectively fly the Hans, and not effectively. I would say consistently fly them consistently in a tournament. Because that might be the hardest thing, is like, because they don't have those guaranteed anymore. You don't have the C3PO or the evade token or the R2D2 of just being consistent, because they have to roll dice.
I got to figure out how to fly Scum Han and Dengar together. Just 2 initiative 6 big base. bruisers.
It seems fine. I mean,
Try it out.
until you find some sort of swarm.
I have already got some.
I will say I do want to make a quick note before we move on. I was double checking through Zach's stats there, and I was the only swarm in the top 16. In fact, I think I was the only list. Or no, I can't say that because there is the bomber mini swarms that were pretty prevalent. But I think I was the only list with more than 5 ships in it.
Now, before we move on, why do you think? What's the fall of the TIE Swarm?
Red line.
Yep.
It's a pretty easy answer. It's called proton torpedoes launched at your face.
Yeah,
No,
and trajectory simulator.
But even so, you've got that's if you're flying in an actual storm. I mean, if you're flying red line, why would you put all your ships together?
Well, then, you paid for Howlrunner and Iden, and the conventional wisdom says if you pay for these 2 effects that only work at range 1, you gotta be at range 1.
Well, let's talk about Iden. You said all these protons in your face. You've got 6 or 7 ships, depending on the type of swarm that you've got, pointing them at a 1 agility ship that is to.
I meant the proton bombs, not the torpedoes.
Okay, I mean I get it.
I think that's the reason why I faced a lot of proton trajectories at Coruscant. I think 4 out of my 6 games in Swiss, and then a game in the Cut as well. And the Drea being, if you see, I just deploy in a straight line. I don't need to do a tight box. I can be all super spread out as far as I want. And I think that play style allows me to avoid the bombs that are launched at me with most of my ships. And I try to get just the Z95s and Dre in there, just the ones with shields to hit that proton bomb that's launched. I think that's the only way that the Drea Swarm is competing better than the TIE Swarm, because you have that flexibility. You don't have to just block joust.
And I think this can also kind of lend a conversation to, because we are going to have 2 different formats. We're going to have the restricted / limited / they calling it 2nd edition. Don't use that name. It's terrible. And extended edition, or the extended version. In the limited, TIE Swarm is going to be a monster. It is arguably, I think, probably one of the best lists. You do have Boba Fett in there as well, but TIE Swarm is going to still be a contender. In extended, it's just like we already talked about, these trajectory simulator bombs. It's just not as good.
Yeah. I have a theory that the hyperspace, the new OP format, is not going to have Punishers in it. Which is probably why they priced them so low.
Could be. I mean, yeah, good stuff. I mean, I love.
If they're priced so slow, why do you only see Redline?
You see the other ones.
There you.
Deathfire can still.
Redline is just out of all of them, is the most efficient for the cost. He gets double modifiers. He gets pushed to limit without taking stress. He can do triple actions if he wants to.
Red line the points, of course, but outside of the points, the problem with Red Line is Initiative 5. Initiative 5 puts him on par with Luke, with Boba Fett, and it puts him above, just so many other good, the initiative is not appropriate, I think. And that's printed. How do you fix initiative?
Yeah, you just make them more expensive. That's it.
Make them super expensive, yeah.
There is a point where his cost will not justify the means. I mean, it's just is what it is. All right, guys. So that's Crossroads. We're wrapping that up. Great event. Thank you to Hangar 19 and Family Time Games for putting that on. We had a great time, and we look forward to continuing to go to that event.
Yep. Wait, one last thing about Crossroads.
Go for it.
I mispronounced the name. It's not Zach Bart. It's Zach Bart. Almost forgot. Sorry,
Got him.
Zach. My bad.
Got him. Alrighty. So now we're gonna take a couple minutes and talk about a new tool that that was announced a couple days ago. I think it was on Monday, and that is List Fortress. Put your lists here. All right. So if you've been playing X-Wing for a while, you've probably heard of List Juggler. This is where you're able to enter in tournament results, and then the community at large is able to look at these results and kind of come to a conclusion that this is the way the meta is shaping and be able to plan from that. Some people really like that information exists. Some people don't. We're going to talk about both sides here in a little bit. But List Fortress was announced as being put together by Alex Robeck, also known as Anti-Grapist. And that announcement is on Reddit. We're actually going to put the link in the description for both the YouTube video and our podcast stream. And also going to put a link to the site. It is literally listfortress.com. Right now it's a little bit bare bones, but in his announcement he talks about all the things he's going to want to implement. And this is just the first step. Like, hey, we have it there. Let's get the tournaments in there, and then we'll be able to get some information out of it. Exporting data isn't a thing in it yet, but soon. It's on the list of to-dos on the short term. Now, I want to take a talk here, and let's talk about first what are some of the positive things that come out of having a tool like List Juggler, like List Fortress. What do you guys think?
You get to be lazy and take the best list.
So to phrase it in a positive way, it's a time saver and a community sourced information about the best list possible.
Are you running for office in 3 weeks?
But we're on the positive side, Marcel. We're on the positive side.
So you being lazy is positive. Sometimes you need to be lazy.
Positive words. The word lazy.
You gotta phrase it positively.
The word
lazy.
lazy.
All these lazy people can't come up with their own list.
What? No.
I'm done.
It's not laziness. It's efficient procrastination.
Oh. Hey,
that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'm gonna have to borrow you and bring you to work.
That's some good vocab.
Good Lord, yeah, that's good. That's a good spin.
Alrighty. Yeah. So good side is, like you guys said, you get access to the ability to find out what is the best, what is the list that is consistently being successful, and not only that, like I know myself, I consider myself a subpar list builder. I feel like I'm getting better, but like if I'm just trying to build the list to win, right? Like not around the fact like, all right, I want to try to fly something that I really like. Is more like, all right, what is the best thing? I have trouble identifying that, and tools like List Fortress they're gonna help players like that. Now I know. Let's go ahead. We're going to start flipping the side. We're going to look at the ugly side, okay? That one of the arguments against tools like List Fortress, like List Juggler, is because all that data is out there, everybody just, over-exaggeration here, everybody just ends up flying the same thing. And that's boring.
Agreed. It does get pretty stale once you play against the same Boba Fett or Whisper Sloan lists repetitively.
Yeah, and I think that takes out, you've got the, Sable Griffiths and people like that will come up with something new and put it in there. And also, I forgot the guy's name that came up with the Peritani. I know he's done a few lists that became popular.
His name's Para.
Para something. I remember I played him at Worlds once. I beat him. Yay. But yeah, just I think people like that will still come up with something, but eventually it makes it into List Juggler. I don't think it's what makes the game stale though, or what would make the game stale, because I think we've got services like Gold Squadron Podcast, like other ones that are streaming events And for example, Coruscant. If somebody only if things like List Fortress are not out there, and all you're seeing is Coruscant worlds, these big scale events, you're not, you know, people are still going to be impacted by what they're seeing on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of getting a larger variety and a full picture of this, or a full spectrum of all the lists that are being flown and all of the lists that are coming in the top 8 but not necessarily breaking the top 4, then I think that that whole argument about everybody's only going to fly this because that's what's winning, then you have a more limited pool to choose from, because then you've got, what have you seen so far? You've seen Boba Fett, you've seen tugboats, and you've seen Redline. So having something like Fortress will kind of show the Palobs, the Hawks, the Probots, everything else that that is potentially good. And you get what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
So see.
Yeah, I mean that.
I like how I'm sorry. I like how Marcel flips it to the positive when we're on the negative side. You're supposed to say this stuff before.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's-
continue.
I'm the devil's advocate. Put it that way.
It's pretty standard. But anyways, yeah, I mean that is a true fact. Like Cavill. Like, who was looking at Cavill before
I know.
Alex Smittle? I mean, Alex Smittle just identified, hey, where can Han Gunners go? Oh, look at that ship that can double modified proton torpedoes. Like that is a positive thing.
Shoot 4
that
dice
comes
at
out of
range
it.
2.
Yeah, pretty good.
Dorsal turret arc on the side, guys. On Cavill. It's good.
And that definitely is like a boost. So it does open up the meta, and to get those interesting builds in there, and so hopefully that would increase the size of the meta. I guess if it's comparable to its size. Was there any other negatives that it would do though?
I mean,
I think
go ahead.
no. I don't think there's a whole lot of negatives outside, because it does a whole lot. I'm not. Oh, how do I turn this not into a double negative? Okay, our friends at FFG have not been historically known to be the best data collectors and in the history of ever.
Mm-hmm.
And things like List Juggler or List Fortress, and even what Zach Bart was putting together this weekend, or he even put it on the page, the intention of why he's doing it, is really to give FFG a hand and saying, hey, amigos, this is pay attention here. It's kind of it's sort of like playtesting data without being a playtester. That because now with the readjustment of points on quarterly or a semi-annually basis, it gives more ammunition to the developers to be able to readjust. So I think that's probably the. Oh wait, we're supposed to be talking negatives.
It's fine.
So I think
I think my negative is about their data. Okay, anyway.
I think you're identifying the true thing is that there is very few negatives about the old List Fortress.
Yeah.
There you go. We made it. We made it to the point. I think
I'll be
it's
more negative next time, I promise.
we made it. And one interesting thing, Sozin, he was the one who made the original List Juggler. And when I would have conversations with him, he's the one who runs a server. And when you go to any website, people who are really good at computers and know the things I don't, he was explaining that you can see IP addresses and all these things. You can basically see who visits your website. You can get that information, that analytics information. And he had analytics information that Fantasy Flight Games was looking at List Juggler. They're like, huh, this is interesting information. I need so it's just really cool and interesting to see that even I mean, right? We could say like, "Oh, FFG should be doing this themselves. We're doing their jobs for them." It's like, well, at least it's getting done, right? So super excited. Thank you, Alex Robeck, for creating List Fortress and for Sozin for basically setting the groundwork, creating the template in which this is going to be built off of, and we'll have this tool in second edition. I need to probably just take a double check. I haven't like looked through there at all. We'll probably start putting in the Gold Squadron Classic information in there soonish. We'll get that up, and we'll get a link out there. Anybody who was there to get that in.
All right, before you jump off that topic,
Mhm.
just like any other, just like Gold Squadron, again, bringing it back to Gold Squadron podcast, just like Gold Squadron podcast, just like List Juggler, this time investment servers are not free. So please check out that Reddit page. You're gonna put out the link to the Reddit, Dion, somewhere.
Yeah.
Not just to the List Fortress, but to the Reddit itself. Our main man is, let's call it, underemployed, and it's being supported by patrons, and it's being supported by basically